everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And I would like to thank you for joining me today. And this is an awesome episode. I just recorded this today on Monday, the 12th, and I waited on purpose to do this at the last minute, which is normally not my style, but I wanted it to be timely and up to date on this super episode about softball regionals coming up this weekend in Norman. And so my guest this week on the episode is Kelli Braitsch. She is a former All-American OU shortstop from the 2000 National Championship team. And I will tell more about her here briefly. I'm going to do my episode a little backwards today. I'm going to end on the interview because we'll go a little more in depth about softball. And I'm going to start this episode with the Sooner headlines of the week. There's not a lot going on, but there are a few things that I wanted to throw out. Our baseball team, unfortunately, got swept in Kentucky this past weekend and dropped completely out of the top 25 in the polls that were released just today on Monday. And we have our last regular season series coming up this coming weekend at home in Norman against Texas. They are the number one team coming to town, so horns down always, baby. I will be there at the Thursday night game. I would love to see any of you there. If you're going to be there, give me a shout out on social media. But guys, get out and support our baseball team. Anytime you have an opportunity to do horns down, it's a good day in my book. So fingers crossed we can have a good turnout and a good series against Texas. It's always a good time to beat your rival. So you just never know what could happen. So fingers crossed for a good finish to the regular season for our baseball guys. Don't know what the postseason will hold for the guys, but we will find out at the conclusion of the championship, which is the week after next. Also, this past weekend was the inaugural SEC rowing championship, and our OU girls got third place in that, and so congrats to them. Shout out for them on that and for an incredible season on rowing. Our women's golf team advanced to the national championship after finishing in the top 5 at the Norman Regional last week, and our men are currently competing in their regional at Amherst. It is still in progress, so I do not have any update on that. I do know that we were sitting towards the top at the completion of play on Sunday. So Monday is day 2. I'm not sure how that is panning out, but hopefully our guys will also advance to the national championship. I will give an update on that on next week's show. Just a few things I wanted to say about softball before I hand it off to our conversation with Kelli Braitsch. But what a weekend did we have in the SEC tournament last weekend in Athens. That Friday game against Arkansas, y'all, if you didn't see it, it was something else. We were down 6-1 going into the 4th inning, I believe, and we just started chipping away at that one home run by one home run by one home run. We had a chance to tie it up, but instead we just decided to walk it off in the 7th with Gabby Garcia's 3-run home run. And it was the biggest comeback in SEC tournament history. Teams that trail by 5 runs or more were 0-81. Well, now it's 1-81 thanks to the Oklahoma Sooners and that awesome comeback against Arkansas on Friday. They also set a tournament record of 5 home runs in a game. Audrey Lowry was pitching just nails to the wall. I mean, just incredible. And I do want to give a shout out to Peyton Monticelli. Kelli Braitsch and I do talk more in depth about that in our conversation, so I won't go off onto it too much. But I just wanted to give a shout out to those two. Peyton comes in from the pen, stops the bleeding, and Lowry comes in and just really gets the job done to stop those Arkansas hitters. Those bats were hot. Bree Ellis went 0-4 at the plate, SEC Player of the Year. That girl had, I think, hit like 30 home runs this season, but she was 0-4 at the plate against every one of our pitchers she faced on Friday. So just an incredible outing there, getting the job done without Sam Landry in the circle on Friday. So Arkansas, on the first 3 innings, they scored 6 runs, and innings 4 through 7, they scored 0 runs. They only had 1 hit out 13 at bats, and that's just a testament to our pitchers that day. It was just an incredible outing. And the often criticized OU bullpen just came in clutch against that very talented Arkansas lineup. And, you know, the nation's best hitter, Bree Ellis, she was held hitless, like I said, 0-4 at the plate, and we got to give props to our circle, our bullpen staff for that. My friends, horns down, fine spirits. Shout out to my buddies. They were saying on Twitter the other day that a down year for OU is the best in history year for some other programs, and it's just a little crazy way to put that into perspective on how true that is. You know, we might be looking at like, oh my gosh, this is a down year for us, but we've still broken records. We broke 2 records in the Friday Arkansas game in the SEC tournament. And this is softball, y'all. This is real life. The wins and losses, the ups and downs. It's just the way of the game. And regardless of the outcome on Saturday, we were matched up against Texas A&M, who ruled Texas in their semifinal game on Friday night. We were all looking forward to facing that A&M squad on Saturday, and Mother Nature was not on our side. I'm still a little salty about it. Regardless of the outcome of that game, I really did want to play it. I knew that ultimately it didn't have much impact on the postseason. We pretty much knew, even if OU had won that game, I don't know that A&M may not have still been the number 1 seed overall in the tournament. But you know what I have to say about that? Who cares? Who cares? It literally does not matter. The number 2 seed, we're going to host a regional. We have the chance to host a super if we get the job done. I'm not going to complain. I am just glad that we don't have to share the co-championship with Texas. However, I don't really think that's how it would have panned out if the shoe were on the other foot as far as us facing Texas for the championship on Saturday. I don't think that would have been how it played out, in my opinion, because we're not sharing anything with Texas. If we had played A&M in the regular season, again, maybe things would have turned out differently. I'm not sure. But again, who cares? Doesn't matter. Number 2 overall seed in the tournament, hosting a regional in Norman this Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have Cali, Omaha, and Boston coming to Norman, and OU will play Boston on Friday at 5 o'clock. And then the rest of the bracket will play out Saturday and Sunday. It's a double elimination, so hopefully we come out of that, and we'll host supers in Norman the following weekend. On to my awesome interview today. It's a bit long, which is totally fine. I loved every second talking to Kelli Braitsch. She is incredible, and we're friends now. She's my text buddy. Her and her wife Courtney live in Madrid, New York, but as a Sooner alumni, Sooner faithful, we are texting during those softball games, and I have loved getting to know her over the last few months, and I appreciate her taking the time to come on with my episode this week so that we could talk about softball. And we waited till today to record after the selection show and the brackets came out so we could talk the SEC tournament and a forecast on regional. So I hope you all enjoy that conversation with her coming up. Kelli was born and raised in Broken Arrow. Her parents both went to Oklahoma. She played golf, basketball, and softball at Broken Arrow High School. She won the first ever Gatorade Player of the Year for softball in the state of Oklahoma. She was recruited to play second and shortstop for OU, and she started her freshman year in right field and moved to shortstop by March. She won the first women's national championship at OU in the year 2000 and made the Women's College World Series All-Team in 2000. She won Player of the Year for the Big 12 in 2001 and was also an All-American in 2001. She broke her jaw in the World Series in 2002 in a pregame warm-up of Game 1. She played the second game with a paintball mask on, which was the first mask worn on TV. And y'all will not want to miss this story. We talk about it in her interview, and I do have a photo that she sent me that I will put up on the video during the interview so you all can see it, and I will also post it on social media this week as well. But Kelli finished her career at OU in 2003. She graduated with a degree in criminology and communication in 2004. She moved back to Tulsa in the summer of 2006 and started with the Tulsa Police Department. She worked in many areas of the Tulsa Police for 16 years, and unfortunately she suffered a career-ending TBI, traumatic brain injury, on duty on Christmas Eve in 2019, and she medically retired in 2002. She now resides in Madrid, New York, on 12 acres with her wife and 4 kids. And another thing I want to point out about Kelli is, first of all, she's one of the nicest humans that I have ever come in contact with. And I have never met Kelli in my life. She is a dear friend of my friend Tyler McComas, and she has been a frequent guest on his podcast, Diamond Envy. And so we connected on social media thanks to Tyler, and we have been chatting it up for several months. And she graciously agreed to come on to my podcast and talk about softball. But we also talked today not only about her jaw injury and wearing her paintball mask to play in the World Series back in 2002, but also her traumatic brain injury, and that was something that she wanted to bring awareness to and bring light to, because it's something that is very special to her. It's obviously affected her whole life, but she is an amazing person, and I'm so grateful to have met her. And I appreciate her sharing that touching story of her brain injury and just how that affected her life. And I think it's important for people to hear and to bring awareness to that. So I hope that you listen to the whole interview and listen to her stories of all the things. And we talk a lot of softball over the years, just, looking back on teams past and going forward. And then again, just the current state of OU softball and the tournament and just how things are going. So again, a huge thank you to Kelli Braitsch. She is an incredible person, and I hope you all enjoy this interview with Kelli. And Boomer Sooner, cheer on our baseball guys against Texas this weekend. Horns down always. Boomer Sooner to our women for regionals this weekend in Norman. I hope you're able to get out and support them or watch it on TV. And I will be back to record next week with the all-new episode, and I will give you an update on all the things. So until next Wednesday, Boomer Sooner, and enjoy this interview with Kelli Braitsch. I appreciate you taking time for me today, but I'm glad. I felt like it was good timing for us to chat with all. I mean, there's so much going on, but after the selection show last night, I was watching it and I'm pretty excited for our regional. Though, did you see the reaction of the Boston girls?
Yeah, surrender Cobra immediately.
I felt bad for them. I mean, I do. I can only imagine they're probably like, damn it.
But, just like any other team, anywhere, what was it, 2 years ago? San Diego State and Liberty upset UCLA.
Yes, they did.
And of course, I don't want them to upset us, but right. I want them to know as a team.
It happens.
And this year has been so crazy with, I've called it the super bipolar season.
Yes.
Because everyone's just flowing along, looking like they're going to whoop everybody, and then all of a sudden it just implodes.
Yep.
And I mean, I love Kenny G at OSU. He was doing so good at the beginning of the season, scheduled such a hard non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of, I don't know if they wore themselves out, and they just kind of slid. And so, I mean, they still obviously, are made it in, so they did what they're supposed to. But, some of those teams that started out hot and heavy just went real fast.
They sure did. Yeah, I think they said first time on the road for regionals for OSU since like 2017 or 18. So
yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal to host, and they got to go to Fayetteville, so that's going to be a tough one. So
man, yeah, Arkansas.
They're so
other
good.
Than A&M, I'd say Arkansas is probably the hottest team right now. They just seem, and I know we beat them. And that was blessed. Statistically, I couldn't believe it, but
I couldn't either.
Because I was just like, oh God. I mean, I'm like, should we just turn it off and go about working on the house?
I know.
But we stayed through, and then if it was going to be anybody, it was going to be Gabby Garcia, though.
Absolutely.
It was so.
Man, I love her so much. She's been one of those all season that I'm just like, okay, she's a freshman, and I thought it was so cool in that Arkansas game because her and Sydney Barker and then Audrey Lowry, of course, in the circle was just incredible. And I'm like, those girls are all freshmen.
Yep.
And here we go with the reload. And it's funny because, I mean, I think we've been reminded realistically throughout the season that these kids are human. And the program, we're all human. But this is normal softball life. We're used to, the winning streak and all the records and everything, which we still set records and we think it's an off year. It's just insane.
Well, even coach said they're not hitting. At the beginning of the year, she's like, we're not hitting as many home runs. And then some mathematician said, that's actually not true. You've hit so-and-so. But they weren't as, I think, consistent.
Yeah.
And so it made the view of it different.
It did, yeah.
I would also like to say that Peyton Monticelli, which I have a total bias because I'm really good, Courtney and I are really good friends with her family.
Oh, how cool. I didn't know that.
Her. We call her P-Dog or the Wisconsin Wonder, like Plank says.
Awesome, yes.
Yeah, we stay in contact with her mom. I really thought, our first two pitchers didn't get off to a great start, but it's also Arkansas. What do you expect? They're going to hit bad balls really good and good balls really far. And they did so. And I felt like she kind of like put a stop to the bleeding.
She absolutely did.
And got us kind of over that hump, and then Lowry like finished us off real nice. Yeah. So it was a good team win. I love that.
It was, and I'm glad you said that because I do feel like she was going to get overlooked in that because she did stop the bleeding, like you said.
Yeah, she did.
An integral part of it, and I know a lot of people don't have a lot of faith in our other pitchers other than Sam Landry, but there's been plenty of times where the other girls have proven their worth and what they can contribute, and there's other times when maybe they're just not having a good day, so to speak. And like Kirsten Deal, I mean, she had a really good game a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember now which opponent it was, but she came out just straight nails, and she needed that. It may have been Texas.
I think that was Texas. Yeah. But
she needed that, and we needed that, and it was a good reminder of what she's capable of. And even though she wasn't able to put it out in the circle the other day, I mean, I still think she can do it. It just maybe wasn't her day, or maybe it was just that team had a read on her, or whatever it was. So,
well, you know, she in the Arkansas series when she started. I was going back and watching the replays of some of the pitches. If you throw a ball in the river, as they call it, which I really dislike that term, everyone, so sorry, but I do. If it's on the opposite chalk and you got a hitter that hits it, what are you supposed to do? And I used to love it when Jen Stewart, we'd huddle back up and we'll say that sort of pitch happened and the ball went over the fence. We'd huddle up and she'd be like, I don't know where I'm supposed to pitch the ball. She's not supposed to swing at that.
Right.
And I think even though they got some good hits, if you go back and look at the placement of the pitches, no one's going to be mad about it because, you know, you're hitting stuff. You know, Allo used to tee a golf shot every once in a while that no one else would swing at because it was on the ground, but she loved them because she could lift them up and out.
That's so true.
And that's what I think a lot of, and I won't even say like newer fans, it's just people that don't understand the full aspect of the game don't realize that just because the ball gets hit really hard doesn't mean it was a bad pitch.
Absolutely.
Do they hang out there every once in a while? Yes, they do.
Yes.
And I think it was last weekend, the last series we had, Abigail Dayton hit one, and I'm pretty sure it was at her chin. Well, that pitch is not... You're not supposed to swing at that. Right. You know you're not supposed to swing at that because when I swing and miss, I get yelled at. I like the high ones.
Right. Well, I still have faith in Kirsten, and I still have faith in Peyton. I mean, she's proven, coming out of the pen that day, especially, that was just a good reminder for her. And she's one of those that's kind of like, doesn't come to mind for a lot of people when we're needing relief or whatever. And I was glad to see her come out the other day, like I said, and kind of stop the bleeding there because we needed that, and she got it done. And then, yeah, Audrey Lowry, I mean, I know she's been injured and she's a freshman and all that, but that says a lot too about her and just, doing what she did at her age and just level of experience and all that. So, I mean, we have nothing to worry about as a program. It's just, like Patty said the other day, and this isn't verbatim, but basically like, Sooner fans are, they're hard to please, so to speak, and she's exactly right because I think most of us, especially people like us that know the game, well, you know the game much better than I do, but you know what I mean? Like we watch it and we know, and we've been watching it for years and following, and we're diehard fans. We understand that a little more than just like the casual person. And then, of course, you've always got these random people making comments on social media, and it just frustrates me. But I'm just like, y'all, this is normal. Like, teams lose. Pitchers have bad days. Batters are going to strike out at the plate. I mean, it's just crazy, But
I mean, if you look at all of D1 softball right now, if you said who's dominating in pitching this year, there isn't.
No.
Because, I don't know, I can't think of the girl's name from Texas A&M, number 25, their main pitcher. I'll say their main pitcher.
Yes, I can't think of her name either.
Yeah, she has had a really good year, but she's also had some really ugly losses.
Yep, she sure has.
And I would say before the year started, if I was going to evaluate everybody statistically, because I'm a numbers person, Texas had the best group of pitchers, but Vaughn being the one I was coming to my head. I know Mac Morgan's done a lot there.
Yes.
Even she struggled. Mac Morgan struggled. Lolly struggled.
Yep.
Every single pitching group, because, we have 5 pitchers now instead of just one. All of them have been really good and really bad.
Yep.
Ours included sometimes too, but it's everywhere. And I think Michelle Smith said it the other day. Right now, the batters are dominating.
Oh,
everything hitting wise is dominating, and that's coming from a pitcher.
Yeah, Right.
A pretty decent pitcher from what I've heard.
Yes.
So, I mean, when you have that aspect of it, and this is the ebb and flow of softball. In the early 2000s, when I played, you could name all the really good pitchers. Arizona had Finch, of course, but they also had Becky Lemke, who the only thing she didn't do compared to what Finch did was hit. She didn't hit as much as Finch. Other than that, she was just as good, pitched just as fast. Her movement, they had little, different pitching styles movement-wise. She was more down. But I mean, you look at you can name all the pitchers throughout the years that are like dominated, and then you get in those like slower years, and then because obviously, is it Pickens from Tennessee?
Carlin Pickens,
Carlin Pickens. Yeah, okay, obviously she's done something right this year because she broke the speed record. But also at the same time, she's, we've beat her, Texas has beat her, I mean, like there's give and take to the whole season, and that's why, I don't want to say the selection show wasn't as exciting as normal.
Right.
But you kind of, like, it's basically like, okay, SEC, here you go, roll the dice. Okay, we're going to pick 7 of you. But I was even surprised by some of the top 8 picks of who is hosting. I thought Oregon might get a better seeding than what they got because they have the least amount of losses across the country, with the exception, I want to say Grand Canyon and them are close. I think they're at 7 apiece. But obviously, Oregon's moved to the Big Ten, so their conference schedule, because the Pac-12's disappeared, wasn't as strong, and so that hurt them. And then their non-conference wasn't as strong as they like it in the RPIs, and so that hurt them. And then all of a sudden, you have a team that has the least amount of losses not hosting a super. Or not having the opportunity to host a super.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And then like you have South Carolina, which I believe had one of the harder schedules. They were in top 5.
For sure.
They are hosting. And so you're just like give and take all over the place. It's and yay for the SEC now that we're in that, we can say that.
Absolutely.
And I'll even have to give a little shout out. I had 3 girls that I played either high school ball with or summer ball with, played at Texas Tech. And so I got to give a little shout out to the Big 12 brand new champions. Those 3 people in my life have a very special place in my heart.
Awesome.
Even though 2 of them, their sisters moved to Texas and left me in Broken Arrow, but I won't hold that against them. That was their parents' fault. But I was super excited that you have, a big dog sliding in there.
Yes.
A Glasgow coming over to coach, which he's a mastermind.
He's awesome, yeah.
And just turning the Big 12 in a completely different direction.
Totally did.
So shout out to them too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun. Like you said, I don't want to use the word inconsistent because I feel like that is not giving credit to the teams. But like you said, it's just kind of been a shakeup all year long with, maybe this team's having a bad day and this team's having a good day, and that causes, a higher seeded team to get beat or whatever. But all the teams have had good quality losses. We've all had bad losses. I mean, it's just all over the place. But again, it's just a reminder, like, this is how softball normally is.
Right.
And it's frustrating too. And I guess it's easy for me to say because we're Sooner fans. But, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, that Oklahoma has dominated all of this time. But also, like, I'm not an Alabama football fan either. But I mean, does it irritate me a little bit, that they dominated for so long? I mean, I guess, but at the same time, like, well, they're good. I don't know what to tell you. And like the Patriots, the same thing. I mean, like, there's always a team, the Lakers, we've all done it in all different sports. And I'm
a Chiefs fan, so that's...
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, same thing. I'm not one to just be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of the same team winning. Well, they're good. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, but I feel like this year, and again, not that, clearly Oklahoma's still in the mix, but it's just, this is how normal sports are, and we may still come out, and go far in Oklahoma City, and we come out on the top or whatever, but, I don't get discouraged when there is a, whatever the word is I'm trying to think of. What's the word? Like a dominant team, that's like taking over and winning, and that just frustrates me a little bit. And I guess, again, it's easy for me to say because, well, it's my softball team doing it, but just...
But it was Arizona and UCLA for 30 years.
But they were fun to watch, too.
And they were fun. Yeah. And you'd have your, you had your little interruptions there with Texas A&M in the late 80s, Fresno State in the 96, 97, I can't remember when that was. But you had your, interruptions to those.
Yeah.
But, if you look over the years, it was pretty much just them two for a long time. Now at least you look, we won a lot recently, but it's also been, the Alabamas and the Floridas and the Michigans in, I think, 0506.
Yes.
It's been a lot of different ones, and I think the game's evolving so much. You're having so many quality players. Some want to go and fight for a spot, even though they know, Kinsey Hanson's catching.
Right, yeah.
They have to, or they want to learn from her for a year before she left, or, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Or, they want to play with this person or that person, or they want to play for a certain coach, and that coach transfers, so they go with that coach.
Right.
But it's all around the board. There's nobody in my head this year that is just like superstar. Nobody that's dominating pitching, of course, if you think hitting, you think of Alo, and before that, Chamberlain. But really this year, I mean, I can tell you that the Erickson that used to play for us and Corby Otis has hit a ton of home runs this year, but I couldn't tell you how many.
Yeah, I don't know either. Now, they said Bree Ellis is like the best hitter in the SEC, the Arkansas girl, but she went 0 for 4 at the plate the other day against Oklahoma.
Well, she faced every one of our pitchers, only one of our pitchers each time, and we got her off.
Yeah.
I know that when that bases was loaded, I was like,
I know.
Lord.
That was huge. That was huge.
Because she's one of those that you pitch it 2 feet outside, she'll hit it over the fence opposite field.
Yeah, she will.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun to watch, and I really enjoyed her interview the other day.
Yes,
with Coach, because Coach is like, what? No. So funny thing about Courtney Deifel. Her maiden name Scott. She was the catcher for Cal, the game that I broke my jaw in pregame warm-ups.
Oh my gosh.
And one of my summer teammates was an Arkansas alum, and last year, 2 years ago, they were talking about it, and they texted me, and they were like, we were just talking about how you broke your jaw. And I was like, I forgot she was catching that game.
That's funny.
So it's a lot of fun to see all these coaches that I have played with. At one time or another.
Yeah.
And, so I can shoot them a text message or a DM or whatever and tell them good luck or congratulations.
Awesome.
Or, I woo-pigged a few times for her in certain times.
For sure.
So it's that's one of the things I really enjoy about, all of this is, man, all my people are starting to take over as head coaches now. And so I can go coast to coast and visit people. So
I love it. Well, like we were talking about all those, people that dominated in teams over the years and people you've played with, but like, look at what those people have done for the sport. I mean, that's why I'm like, I don't care if somebody's dominating or whatever, like it's just propelling the sport and the players and I'm fine with it. And like you said, like all these people you played with, now they're coaching and you've got friends all over the place. And that's fun to me because now you got more teams to watch, more reasons to root for a team or whatever. And I like having that connection. So,
like G's only, I think, like 4 or 5 hours away from where we are now. So I shot her a message and I was like, it won't be this year because we're redoing the house.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, we might try to catch a game next year. And then of course I didn't realize they won their conference until I watched it on the selection show. I was like, we didn't even know that. And so,
oh, that's so cool.
And so I was just like, see, we can go catch some good, good softball. So
absolutely. Yeah. I've followed, is it UCF where Shannon Sale is, that's special. And then Hope Troutwine at Houston. And of course, Gassos at Arkansas. And
I played with Vess.
I'm trying to think who else. It's all over the place, but yeah. Well, and Melissa Lombard. And
oh no, Sydney, not Melissa. Wrong one. I know too many of them.
I know. I was trying to stop saying. Yeah, they're like all over the place.
Yeah, some of them. Like who was the pitching coach that for Alabama and for Florida, but was at Alabama? J-Train. Isn't that who's at Florida now?
Sounds right, yes.
We didn't even know until she walked out to do a thing, and I'm like, ah. So
yeah, I love that. I just love all the connections and seeing all the things. And like when Oregon came to Norman, was that last year with Melissa Lombard?
Yes.
That was just so cool. Like Coach Gasso's coaching tree is literally all over the place.
Oh yeah,
and it's incredible.
And you forget some. Well, like Deifel coached a year there, and I had started the police academy. And I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, I didn't even remember her coaching there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think I knew that.
GA stuff or assistant,
right.
But you got, and then we've had so many, and they're just so whether they're played or came and coached here.
Yes, I love it.
Well, and I'll give a shout out to Nikki Engelbrick Madden's her married name. she's known for the one who hit the ball that broke my jaw. She tells people this. We tell people that all the time. And it's really funny because it had nothing to do with what she did.
Right.
She coaches at Rose State College, and they just made it to the World Series.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they beat Amber Flores at Seminole.
They did. I saw that. Yes.
But once again, you even got the JUCO and and the NAIAs and we're covering all sports here, all sides of it.
Yes, absolutely. That's cool. I didn't know that there was a connection with anyone at Rose State, but I do follow Amber Flores. I had her on a couple months ago, and so we've become texting buddies as well. And so I sure hated that they got beat the other day, but that helps a little bit knowing there's a connection there with Rose State. I did not know that. So
and Amber's dad just accepted a job at Shawnee. I'm like, the whole Flores family's coming to Oklahoma. I go, you sucked them in.
She did. She told me that they were moving here, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I mean, she's been here for 20 years basically, or around that, and
we keep some of them.
Yes, here they all come. So I love her. She's awesome. Okay, so you have to tell the story about your jaw, because I don't remember that happening, or I had forgotten. Who knows, because it was a long time ago. But
it was.
Yeah, okay, so tell me, like, what happened? Because I was showing my husband the picture you sent me of you wearing the paint mat, all that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine any of this. So I got to hear the whole thing.
So, first game of World Series, 2002. This was, of course, back in the day when you only played like 4 games.
Yes,
unless you lost, then you had to play an extra. It was just Memorial Day weekend, and we were, I remember we were warming up and we were telling dreams we had. Okay. And I was telling them how Aaron Evans and I had run in together in a collision. Mm-hmm. And so we were just like, oh, that would be horrible. And, and we split off, take infield, outfield. And coach had just had, I think like a hernia surgery or something. So she couldn't swing. Like it was something where she couldn't swing the bat.
Yeah.
Which, Coach. I love Coach, but she's a little bit of a control freak.
Absolutely.
And so am I. So, I mean, what am I saying? And so she wasn't able to hit. And so Nikki Engelbrick Madden was hitting. And it wasn't hard. It wasn't anything crazy. It just took a bad hop and it hit me right here.
Oh, man.
And it was one of those, all I could think to myself is we were going to Country Line Barbecue after the game. We were getting motivated with food already.
Of course, absolutely.
And I could tell my lip was fat immediately. And so at that time, Coach would do first and thirds in front and shorts and seconds, like more towards the back. Tiffany Waite was our second baseman. And I looked at Tiffany and I was like, am I bleeding? And her face just went, like, I think if she was one of those people that would throw up if she saw blood, she would have thrown up.
She would have thrown up.
But she couldn't say anything. She just covered her mouth with her glove and was just shaking her head.
Like, no, there's problems.
Right. So, of course, I start tasting blood. And, what do you do as a softball player? You spit. Sorry.
Yeah,
all those people I spit in front of.
You got to get it out.
And when I spit, it was like nothing but blood. And then I realized that like this section of my jaw was like caved in.
Oh my gosh.
So my teeth were literally being held on by the nerves only, and they were hanging down on my bottom lip.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so I covered my mouth, of course, panicking for a small second. Mm-hmm. And then our two, John and Michelle, I can't think of their last names. Sorry guys, too much brain damage. They came out and they're looking at it and they're like, obviously something's wrong. And I'm bleeding so much on the field, they're worried that I'm going to cause, the blood issue was a really big thing.
Right.
Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Not that it still isn't, but I mean, it was like really, so they brought out an Aquafina cup. And there's a picture of me holding the Aquafina cup, or Michelle's holding it, and I'm walking off like this, and it's cooling into the Aquafina cup, which was funny because it looked like I was doing a commercial.
Yeah.
And somebody snapped a picture of that, so Michelle and John got the front page sports section, so they were super stoked about that.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so we go into the dugout, and this was before Holly Rowe. It was another blonde with short hair that was doing she was the pre-Holly Rowe, because no one's Holly Rowe, of course.
Right, of course.
And the Dr. Smith, our team doctor, was looking at it. He was like, well, he's like, lay down. So I literally put my head like on his leg. And I don't know what he did, but all I did was I woke up and I was on the ground. And so I obviously had passed out because he touched something. And then there was the cameraman was trying to get in the dugout, and this was long before you had 37 different views of the field and the camera that moved with you, you know.
Right.
And the reporter was coming down. So Walton, I can't confirm nor deny, I believe Walton assisted the person out of the dugout quite quickly, maybe with two hands dragging in a fashion.
Oh my goodness.
And so then they like put up this big towel and were trying to evaluate me. And then I literally looked at him and I said, listen, this is the World Series. I'm a junior. I know this is this one and one more that I got to go.
I'm playing.
I said, pull the teeth out. I'll get fake ones. And this is when you know that you think way too much about your sport. But at the time, that seemed logical because eventually I was healthy. My blood was going to clot. It'd be fine.
Right.
I can just go get one of those cool retainers, pop it in, pop it out, gross people out, you know. So they eventually Dr. Smith said, I'm putting a medical hold on you and I'm not letting you play, which we're still friends. I'm not mad at him, but I was a little bitter. But they took me out. They tried to give me like ground balls to see if I could, like, it wouldn't affect my psyche. Basically.
Right, yeah.
I was ready to go. And all of a sudden he started calling dentists and oral surgeons and stuff like that. He wasn't getting the answer he wanted, which was, I need to see this. This person needs to be seen. So he calls his next door neighbor, who happens to be an oral surgeon, and said, I'm sending this person to you. You need to check it out. So I go in, I do the whole x-ray, you know, and the doctor comes in and tells me that not only can I not play, but I should quit softball because this is the type of damage I had to my face was the same as when a face hits a dash in your car if you're not wearing a seatbelt, or like a bull rider hits the hump of the bull.
Oh man.
And I looked at him and I said, you need to fix this. I have a game to get back to.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. And then they tried to give me gas, which I know affects me. So I said no. Pretty much got in a tussle with whoever was holding the gas thing. And they got it just close enough to my face that it made me go. So 2 hours later, we're driving back to the game. And I don't know, this was before social media, obviously, where I'm 10 cents a text message here.
Yes.
People.
Yes.
And yeah, boy, kids, you don't know how good you have it.
They have no clue.
Yeah, they have no clue. And so I pull up literally to see the team walking into the tents that they used to have at that time. And I walked in, and of course so basically what they did is the same concept of braces, and they wired each tooth instead of having where you can change the cool colors on it. It was like wired like all the way across my face.
Oh my gosh.
So if you watch James Bond in Jaws, anybody, that I looked like Jaws for a while, for about 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
And so, I mean, my face, of course, then was pretty swollen. Just from all the... Yeah, I didn't bruise. Healthy.
Really?
Yeah, it was far enough in. It didn't push it out so much.
That's so interesting.
But then, of course, so we lost. So we had a day off. This was back when you lost. You had a day off. And we went to Midwest City to practice, because you always practiced on your day off.
Yes. And
we went out there and, you know, I'm fine. My teeth are wired all together with a bunch of metal. I would not pass a TSA screening by any means. And coach goes to hit me the ball, and I literally cannot control my own reaction. I stood up, and then I was in a panic because your id and your super ego are fighting it out. And for whatever reason, the I'm bailing is losing, and that is not my style.
I hear that.
At all.
I hear that.
And so the trainers got together again, and John's like, well, let's go to Walmart and try to find you a mask. Well, you think of back then, we didn't, you know, I used a paintball mask, but even paintball there was 2 options.
Right.
And so the one that we thought would cover the actual jaw piece enough was one of the fully enclosed head ones.
Oh my gosh.
And so John took it back, and man, I really wish I could think of, if anybody remembers John's last name, my teammates, I'm so sorry, he should get credit for most of this. He takes it back to the hotel, cuts it out in the shape of my face. Of course, they're allowed to leave and come back and forth to get things and do things. So he goes and gets some OU crimson paint from the football helmets, the OU football stickers, ends up painting it so that I can wear it. And then the only other curveball of that was they had to present it because nobody else had worn a mask, especially like that. So they had to ask Sue Inquist, who was coaching at that time, and Kelly Anyway Perez was there, of course, too, and Fernandez. But they had to ask if can she wear this?
Oh, that's so crazy.
And of course they would have been, I don't think they would have ever seen the end of if they wouldn't have let me.
Oh, for sure.
But it was awful because You couldn't, it's World Series time, so it was 100 degrees.
Yes.
And I mean, it's not anything fancy. It was like a $20 mask from Walmart.
I'm looking at the picture right now. I'm going to put it up on the video so people can see, and I'll post it on social media. It's so, I had to zoom in and look at it as you were describing it because holy smokes. But that's the first thing I thought of was the heat. My God, the heat.
So if anybody was to watch that footage, which they probably isn't any because it's too grainy, you would see me. I'd hook my finger underneath and pull up and try to breathe.
Oh my goodness!
And it was obviously it worked. It's fine.
Yeah.
I was able to squat and field the ball and not bail, which would have been really embarrassing on ESPN. So it was. So I only wore it. I wore it once then, and then I wore it once in one of our camp games where we played like a deal. Mm-hmm. And thank God that was the only time I had to wear it.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and of course, so and the other funny part about that is after I got done, it was Worth then, which was bought out by Rawlings, so same difference.
Oh yes, right.
So they approached me and they said, "Hey, we want to make a mask, and like you're going to be our person," which it made sense. And I think my senior year, a girl from Alabama caught something, and we happened to run into each other at Pearls. Remember Pearls? That was a good one.
I do remember Pearls.
Yeah, that was a good one. And so she actually came over and was asking me about it, but hers was a little bit more like on the eye part. So I don't know if the paintball mask would have been good for her.
Interesting.
So they said, let's do this. And I looked at him and was logical. This isn't on the market for anything. This was 2003 leading into 4. Paintball mask weren't gonna solve it, and they're like, well, we could do it this way, we could do it that way, and I was like, who's gonna wear that? Because of course for the longest time I was embarrassed to wear it.
Right.
I was gonna play.
Rightfully so. Yeah
Now so many people have got hit in the face, whether you're obviously pitchers totally need it. I would feel like, especially if you're younger, and third basemans, and I guess outfielders wear it, first basemans wear it, kind of everybody wears it now, which whatever, save your teeth, kids, because mine are still screwed up from it, and they should have just pulled them and let me have dentures.
You tried to tell them.
I tried to tell them, kids. So the joke was I missed a very large marketing. It would have probably been pennies for the first 8 years.
Yeah.
And now I'd be a millionaire. And believe me, all my teammates give me jokes about it. And of course, Courtney's like, I could be a stay-at-home dog mom.
Right? And you missed out. You missed your opportunity.
I did. And at 23 years, well, I don't even think I was 23 when they asked. I was probably still 22. But right at 23 years old, all I wanted to do is finish my degree and go be a cop.
Absolutely.
I wasn't thinking about creating a mask for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's the joke now is I've lost my millions that way.
Well, it makes sense. It's funny that you mentioned about people wearing them now. Is it stresses me to no end that Sam Landry does not wear a mask. Like, it kind of bothers me. I just worry, I think about something like that happened to her, and I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to watch that happen. But, I mean,
true, because I guess we see a little bit more now in baseball because they don't wear them. But, I would never want anybody to do it, but trust me, if I could have not worn it, I wouldn't have.
I wouldn't want to either, if we're being honest, but yeah.
But then again, if we had children and they were pitching or at third...
Yeah, get the mask on. Get the mask on.
I mean, it's kind of like you're like.
I know, yeah. Makes sense.
It just depends. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm sitting here scrolling through your pictures that you sent me, but a while back, earlier in the season, Courtney posted this, I think, on a Facebook group, and it was OU softball tic-tac-toe with Kelli. And so I'm gonna have to put this up too and let people see it, but it is hilarious. I saved it, and I'd actually forgotten I'd saved it, but I remember right after she posted it, I saved it on my camera roll, and every game I'd be like, okay, yeah, I can see this happening. It was just so funny. So anyway, I had to bring that up because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a new one this year. Yeah. She always posts the one with me and the OSU shortstop. That one gets posted every year when we would play. She found it like 4 or 5 years ago, and somebody sent us a copy of that game. That's what it was, and she videoed it. And she was like, that's hysterical. I'm gonna post this when we play. And then it just became like a thing every year to post it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think she even tagged Nicholson in it at one point, and we were joking back and forth about
really
it.
Funny.
So, because of course now we can laugh about it. Then we were gonna,
of course, yeah, definitely not funny then. Yeah, that's funny.
And let me just say once again to the world here, I said nothing. Courtney's like, you didn't have to say anything. Your body language was saying enough, and I'm like, but I kept my mouth shut. And everyone thinks that. They're like, oh, I can see you talking. I'm like, listen, I will talk smack to you, but not on the field like that.
Right.
My Mama B, Judy Braitsch taught me you do your talking by your actions.
Absolutely.
And then you to the scoreboard when you're done.
Judy Mama knows.
And believe me, everyone knows Mama B. She will come beat my butt if I don't go that way with it, even now. So that's one of the other things. But yeah, the tic-tac-toe was a new one. And she, I think at one point was going to change it up each game.
Yes.
And so, but I was kind of like, because I saw her over there, you can tell when someone's being a little sneaky over there.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, what are you doing? And she was like, nothing. And then she posted it and I was like, you're funny. And that's true. It's true because
it was very funny.
I need her to have one that says, can Kelli guess what Coach Gasso's thinking? Because it's a lot of fun to be like, oh, let me just tell you guys, when she does like that and puckers your lips, she is trying to internally calm herself to speak.
See that?
Whether it's to us, whether it's to ESPN, whether it, to whomever.
Yeah.
But it's really funny because there's a lot of times I can see that incorporation of the breathing that you see all the players doing now. She does that every once in a while before interviews. And I just chuckle. I was like, yeah, set yourself straight there. Get that right out there.
That's hilarious.
So it's funny that she does, all of her mannerisms are very similar.
Yes.
But how she expresses them now is much better line of communication than previously.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons she's become a phenomenal coach.
Absolutely.
Is she's adapted to this day and age compared to our OGs. Our OGs.
That's so funny. She is fun to watch. I was watching her reaction from one of the videos recorded the other day when Gabby Garcia hit that home run out, the walk-off, and just watching her reaction. And I was like, that is what's fun to watch. You notice those little things about her when she's talking and stuff like that. And you can say, oh, I wonder if she's trying to calm herself down or trying to think of the best, nicest way to say this or whatever.
Yeah.
But seeing her like in a moment like that is just incredible. And I always think about her too, at the World Series, pretty much every year, she's always like holding on to the fence and just, she's like in the moment enjoying it. And I'm just like, I can't even imagine being in that woman's brain. Like, I kind of would like to be in there for a minute, but then I'm kind of like, oh, probably not. But she is such an incredible person. Like, just, I love watching her. I mean, I'm not worried about our program whenever she does, retire. I'm sure they have great plans and, everything lined out, but she will be missed whenever that day comes because, well, she's been there for so daggum long for one thing.
Right,
And like everybody respects her. I mean, whether you like OU softball or not is beside the point. Like, you have to respect the woman and what she's done for the sport and, Oklahoma in general. So yeah, she's just incredible. I love watching her. I think her reactions are funny to me. And then Sam Landry started laughing at her the other day. Was that on, I think it was on the SEC post game or something at the SEC day or whatever after the game. And Sam Landry started laughing at something and she was like, why are you laughing at me? But I like those little reactions or like interactions, like that with the players. Cause I'm like, they love her.
I like the burp. Did you see the burp interview?
No, I don't think so.
Sam, I'm pretty sure she burped or it was one of the, it was at home. It was in our home thing. And she took a drink of something and just and coach was like,
oh, that's funny. No, I did not see that. That's hilarious.
And all I could think to myself was I would be on the Stairmaster at 5 a.m. the next day for doing that. And I was like, thank God for these grandchildren because it has really chilled her out.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I'll work on getting, when our house gets done being renoed, I have a picture of DJ. He is 6-7 years old.
Yeah.
He would sit on the back of the bus with Aaron Evans. Always had the 3 seats. Don't know why Aaron Evans, one of the shorter players she's about my height.
That's hilarious.
On the bus, got the back 3 seats.
That's funny.
You get your little assigned seat to play him. And he'd come back there and he was playing with whatever version of like Leapfrog or whatever soon became an iPad. And I have a picture of him sitting back there. I'll have to dig through my pictures and post it. I know I've got some of JT too.
Yes.
But it's always so funny that they're men now. They have their own families. And I'm like, we raised them, you know? Like, we helped, like, in all the Sooner girls, you know, since they were born, have been helping raise them. And so it's just, it's really cool to watch. And I love that, you know, DJ and JT are completely different personalities. I'm assuming their hitting is quite in line because of how well they do.
Yes.
But they have completely different personalities.
You can tell.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell.
But I love how DJ was in the Arkansas series, was over, coaches in the third base, the batter's box, and he's like, Mom. It's DJ, so it's fine. If JT would have done that, she would have turned around and probably whooped him. And that's what I was like, it's so funny. But like, I tell JT every single time I see him nowadays, I was like, listen, you were such a pain in the butt. I was like, I'm sure your mother said the same thing about me, coaching me. But like, he's just turned into such a great man and such a phenomenal hitting coach.
Yes, absolutely.
Married well too, going for the UCLA chick. Good job. He's going to have very athletic babies.
He will.
So eventually we know Rocha will probably take over. He'll take over. DJ will come help him.
Yep.
Eventually his kids will coach. It'll just be a Gasso for life thing.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Right.
No, I agree. I've thought about that too, and I think, it's definitely going to be some Gas family tree for a good while in Norman, and I'm here for it because they're fun to watch. And I know they were talking about I guess they always like text each other before the games or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, that didn't happen Friday morning. Like there was no family.
No hello, no good morning.
No good luck today. Yeah. None of that happened on Friday. But I mean, it's fun to watch. I mean, that Arkansas team is fun anyway. But just the family ties, obviously. But that was a crazy game.
Okay, so we have a lot of fans that comment on all the different message boards like, oh, why is Coach Gasso doing this? Why is Coach Gasso doing that?
Always.
I'll be the first person to tell you, I think that sometimes, but I also don't post it on social media. You can think things, don't always post your opinion on social media, people.
Absolutely.
Because my thought was, and obviously I have a fairly vast knowledge of softball and Coach Gasso. That's my favorite thing to say because I've learned from her, so I usually know what she's doing. Mm-hmm. So she pinch ran for Pickering. And then I think Tia Malloy got thrown out at second, and eventually Parker gets up and gets on. And I was like, ooh, someone should come in and run for her. Not that she's not fast, even with her shin splint issue.
Right.
She's obviously baseball savvy, very good. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I was worried like she would get herself out because of it, but I was just like, do we want a little bit more speed that doesn't hurt right now? Yeah. And I thought, okay, she's not switching her. Okay. And then, of course, you get the runners on, I think, second and third. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, if she would have pinch ran for her, could Maya Bland made it home?
Yes.
And so I was just like, oh, Coach, I don't know if that was a good call. And this is where we all need to be quiet. Because her thought had already gone 3 steps in front of ours because she said, I have Gabby Garcia coming up. I have this person, this person, this person. We have one out. I have plenty of chances. If nothing else, I stop her. We get a deep fly ball, and we get the ball game tied.
Yep.
Now, obviously, the best thing occurred. Gabby Garcia is like,
sure did.
I'm going to end this right now, guys. Let me give this to you. And she hits it, and my first thought, because she hit it so high, was, oh, sweet, we're going to tie up. And then it just kept going and going and going, and I loved it. And so let me just tell you the fun tie that I have to Gabby Garcia that I didn't realize until this year, midway through the season. So her mother, who I've gone completely blank on her name right now, Arizona shortstop.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Arizona State shortstop. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, dear. So sorry. I know that's the wrong one. Okay, so her mother and I were roommates for the national trials, Olympic trials softball thing. And we played Arizona State, I think, when she played. I think she's a year ahead of me. Probably just 2 or 3 times throughout my career. So I knew her more from rooming with her for a few days than I did anything. And so when Gabby got up at one of the few games, they were like, yeah, her mom was a Hall of Fame at Arizona State. And I was like, oh, who's her mom?
Yeah.
And sure enough, her mother, I was like, oh. And so I'm like, and you can't, and I guess I wasn't too surprised because back then, Arizona State, UCLA, those were all, your
Yes,
back,
absolutely.
Washingtons, those were all your people that you went to when you were on the West Coast. That was the way
Uh-huh.
it went. And so I was just like, I wonder how she feels about her going to OU. And then, of
Right.
course, with the season she's had, hell yeah, Boomer Sooner,
Exactly.
So, I mean, and she's fun to watch.
She
I
is.
used to say I loved to watch Brito, and I
Oh
would have
yeah,
loved to see Brito as a shortstop. She did great at third.
she did.
I didn't see her as much as a shortstop. She was one of my favorites, but I'm
Mhm.
like, ooh, Gabby Garcia's coming in there.
She is. I love her. She's probably one that stuck out to me for the first time in a while. I mean, I did like watching Brito as well, but it's funny though how you just have a player that like sticks out in your mind, and it's fun to watch him succeed. So I feel that way about Gabby.
Well, I am biased for shortstops. I mean, I can't
Well,
lie.
you
I
can't help it.
cannot lie.
I mean, it's what you did, so you have to be. I mean, I totally get it. Yeah, I mean, I am not a softball player by any means, but I just love the sport and sports in general, obviously. But it's just fun to watch these kids, and I like to watch them grow through the program, like
Oh yeah.
from the beginning, and like the class that we lost last year and those seniors, and watching them, I'm just like, part of me feels like that they were there forever, and the other part of me feels like, well, they just got here. How have they won 4 national championships, and how is it time for them to go yet? Like, I feel like, well, where did the time go? But yeah, it's just crazy.
We said that about Grace Lyons, because I was like,
yeah,
hasn't she been our shortstop for like 8 years now?
I know, it felt like it.
I know the COVID year kind of threw, but the same way with Georgia, Dallas Goodnight. I was like, has she not?
Yeah.
How many red shirts has she had? How many actual years have you been playing? Because you just hear that name over and over again, and you're just like, well, good Lord.
I feel that.
It's only legal.
Yes, I feel that way about Reese Atwood from Texas, and I just feel like there's always somebody from somewhere. I'm like, I swear they've been there for like a decade. Like, come on.
Yeah, and I know they think the same thing about all of our girls from last year. So
you know they do. You know they do.
And like the only thing that I absolutely love where we moved to, I love where we live for my own health and benefit. But the only thing that really does, I don't know, it's just harder to handle. I got really close with that group of seniors' parents because
I bet.
I'm their age.
Yeah. Yes.
I was their age, and so I'd go talk to them and be like, oh hey, I'm so and so. I love watching whatever. Kelly Maxwell's family. I think I'm friends with Facebook with all of her family now, and I shoot her messages every once in a while. And so you just get in the you've seen me wish my Sooner sisters happy birthday, no matter if they played last year or played in '75.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you try to grow and expand and realize that the building blocks of the program.
Oh, for sure.
And of course, it's just easier to correlate now with the parents because they are my age.
Yes.
I have missed, because I would of course have to talk trash to Gabby's mom just for fun.
Of course, you can't not.
What Boomer Sooner, but also, hey, and so like the that's the one thing that like I'm like, I don't necessarily say I'll miss going to the World Series because it's gotten so crazy. Even the regionals and the super regionals,
I know.
it gets so crazy.
It's so crazy.
It's almost like I'll enjoy it at my house with my free water.
I hear that.
Or
your own bathroom.
Your own bathroom that you don't have to, wait in line for or whatever.
Yes.
But I will say I've missed meeting the parents and stuff like that. And so all the parents, especially from last year, I miss you guys. Mama Monticelli, I miss hanging out with you this year, Daddy Monticelli.
Yes.
So, but I at least text them. So
that's cool. Well, we're about the same age, me and you, and so I get that. Like, we don't have kids either, and so yesterday I was looking at all the Mother's Day posts.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at all the moms going, yeah, they're like my age, and these players today could be my kid.
Yeah.
And it's funny to think about that, and yeah, it's weird. But I was thinking, I had to look, I couldn't think of her name. It left me, but Julie Dobbs.
Oh yeah, Julie Dobbs Burbank. Yeah.
I was talking to her. She messaged me on Facebook a while back and we got to talking, and she's one of those too. I think we talked about her through text. But yeah, she's another one too that she played in the 90s, and she says she wants to pay her respects to all the people, like the building blocks over the year and everything, because everyone played a part in getting Oklahoma softball to where they are today. And yeah, I can't wait to talk to her because she's married to Polk, who
Dennis.
played
Yeah.
Dennis. Yeah, he played basketball and baseball at OSU, and so that's really cool. Of course, my husband's a Polk, and so we're gonna do a special like double bedlam episode. I'm not sure how we're gonna do it. I got to figure it all out.
You gotta figure it out.
I'm excited to talk to them because she's one of those. I mean, I know she's from the early 90s OU softball.
Shortstop.
Yes. Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Yes.
She says she was a better shortstop than me, but I don't know if she's serious about it. Julie, are you serious about that?
I'm gonna ask her. I'll ask her.
Yeah, you'll have to ask her when she's on. Be like, Kelli, let me know what you really think.
Okay, I will. That's so funny. I enjoyed talking with her because, yeah, I mean, she's a little bit older than us, obviously, but it's so cool. Just a little bit, yeah. It's just cool to talk to these people. And actually, oh gosh, there was a lady I met a while back. She recognized me from Facebook, and she started talking to me at a game. And she was telling me about another lady that she knows who played softball at OU like in the 70s or whatever. And her name has completely escaped me, but I know how to track her down. I just can't think of the name right now. But anyway, I was like, I want to talk to somebody like that too, because that's someone who, was, quote, way back in the day, but like they mean a lot to the program as well as, being a building block and getting the program where it is today. And this person, she still comes to games.
Yeah.
I cannot think.
I know the shortstop from 75. Sherry starts with an E. She's got a very interesting last name, and I can say that because mine's just as interesting. She was the first shortstop, and I think I've now met almost everybody that has played short. I think at one time or another at OU, because we met when Coach's statue was supposed to be unveiled.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh, yes.
So, and then at the World Series last year, I talked to, I want to say there was a bunch from the early 80s.
Uh-huh.
That they got me together and we're asking some questions. And, without Marita starting and doing her thing, which, God, how can you not love Marita?
I know. I met her last year. She is the best.
Now, from what I've heard, I think I would have preferred her as my AD like she was than a coach. I hear she was quite difficult. Oh. So her and Coach Gasso might have been I'm like, this would have been a duo here.
Yes, yes.
But, of course, hard in a good way, people. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Rita, I love you and I miss you. I hope you're enjoying New Mexico. But, so she introduced herself and she was like, Julie and I, I think it was like the second time we'd really gotten to know, met and talked and stuff. And then she was like, oh, I'm the 75 shortstop. And so we, like, all of a sudden had all these years.
Oh, I love it.
And so I just told him, I'm like, listen, you guys played when you played at Reeves, which, I've always said, I played at Reeves, not in college.
Right.
I played at Reeves through high school and stuff like that. And God, I mean, in college, that's bad.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I realized that's what it was back then.
Uh-huh.
But, I'm assuming probably had to work jobs because there wasn't scholarships the way there are now.
Yeah.
And there's so much work in Title IX and getting us to these stages in our part in the part of the non-West Coast teams, getting everything moving forward to making it what it is. Like it's a building block of women's sports that have just kept evolving. And now we get all the games on, you can watch it.
Yes.
Whatever station, ESPN's and the Flows and Foxes and all those that show every moment of everything. And then they have the 37 cameras.
Yes.
You would have gotten to see each one of my teeth if we would have had the camera system.
Oh, for sure.
Probably flying out. They would have replayed it and everything. Like everything has evolved so much to the point where, now the NIL money's here.
Yes.
Which is, and believe me, I'll be the first person to say, that's a love-hate relationship on all levels because I can see it hurting the players so much. They have to do so much. And if they don't do it, you're not a good player. You're not giving back to the fans. Yeah. If you do it, you're missing this, and this.
Yeah.
So it's evolved so much, but it started with all those women 50 years ago love them. They, I don't even want to know what it was like back then.
I know. I can't imagine. I literally cannot imagine. I can't.
I mean, like one of my friends from I've known her since I was 5 messaged me the other day and said she played 1 year at OSU and then transferred to NSU. April Humphreys, I love you, sister. She messaged me the other day and says, "Is coach still making the players dress for success?" And I'm like, "You mean like on the travel trips, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, that's a good question." So I messaged Peyton's mom. I was like, "Hey, do you know if this is?" And she's like, "No, I don't think so." And I know she's still making them dress for success on certain levels for certain things, banquets and stuff like that.
Right.
But I guess now they just wear their team gear, which, like, I saw them out in the outfield the other day with the new pink stuff that they were wearing.
I saw that, yes.
Yeah, Coach, if you'd like to send me some of that,
I know, it was sharp looking. I love it.
Yeah, and it's expensive these days. So,
yes, it is.
So I was like, no, I don't think they are, but can I just tell you, like, once again, I don't know what it was like for the girls in 75, 85, 95, but let me tell you, when you're wearing a dress or a skirt and you're carrying your suitcase and your ball bag and a net. Now they have people that help with this.
Yes, yes.
You know, I know you have the underclassmen that probably have to carry some things and do certain things, but I'm like, girls, you don't know what it was like to have to deal with all that in a dress.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a lot. Like you're probably not going to catch me in a dress on a good day most of the time anyway, but especially I can't imagine trying to.
No, as soon as coach made me no longer dress for success, I gave all those away.
Deuces. Don't need the dress.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And now I live in like Sooner gear. It's all it's what else is there I need? Comfort.
I mean, I can't imagine what else you need.
Right.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it at all. Okay, but tell me, how did you end up at OU? I mean, I know you're from Broken Arrow, so obviously you probably grew up like a Sooner fan.
So I'm actually Sooner born and Sooner bred. Okay. My parents were both in Vietnam. Oh, wow. And my dad wanted to be either weatherman or pharmacist. So where do you go? OU, of course.
Yeah.
He's originally from Wichita. So after they got out of the service, he came and started his classes at OU. My mom did some nursing stuff at OU. And then my Aunt Faye, Auntie Faye, You'll meet her at one of the games, I'm sure. She used to feed the team.
Oh, nice.
So my mom called and said, "Hey, come down here and live with me." And so she's now been stuck in Norman ever since then. And my sister went to OU and graduated from OU. And so it wasn't the pressure thing. Yeah. A lot of people are like, did you feel? I was like, no, I didn't. I took all my trips, every place. And just like they say, when you fall in love, you just know.
Yeah.
And I did. I know it made it easier because my entire softball career, I played with or against, Ashley Barrett.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer Stewart, Aaron Evans, Lakeisha Washington, Mandy Fulton. So Katie Overton, Casey Clark, all those people that eventually I ended up playing with. At some time or another, we'd played against each other. And so I'm assuming that helped. But I initially wanted to leave Oklahoma because, of course, you're 17, I'm leaving.
Exactly, yeah.
But it felt right. And it ended up being okay. I mean, it worked out for me, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was good. The thing that my mother contributed to it. So before I went on any of my trips, my mother said, "I'm staying out of this. You're about to be 18, so you have to make your decision. It's your decision where you want to go, what you want to do.
Good for her.
I'll advise you to go to the college that has your degree, that gets you further in life."
Right.
Because, kids, you always need something to fall back on.
Absolutely.
You can be a welder. I don't care. Just do something to fall back on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Softball does not pay the bills always.
Right.
You've got to be one of a kind to get all the bills paid.
Exactly.
So we did have I think my mom dropped me like off at the field and met coach or whatever. So of course I know they'd seen each other and had met before, but my mom randomly asked, which was really shocking because she wasn't really involved in anything. She said, "Well, where's my daughter going to play?" And because they had, obviously, Keish is a great second baseman. Lisa Carey was the shortstop at that time.
Okay, yes, I know that name.
I'm assuming I wasn't obviously the only person being recruited. Mm-hmm. And she said she'll play where she earns a spot. And my mother turns to me and says, "I like her."
Yes.
But it's true. It's exactly how coach is. And I think I talked with Tyler about, like, I don't want to say she recruits shortstops and then they just play at all different positions, but Sydney Barker is a shortstop. And let me tell you, she reminds me of Lisa Carey. She's probably really good at shortstop, but she's real good at first base.
She is.
And she's got the power hitting, and you got Garcia over there, get the flow of the infield going type thing.
Yep.
And so, like, it's just, and I did. I started out in right field. because I wasn't doing anything really well in the infield, whether I was at second or short. It was not pretty in my start. I started in right field, and then eventually I worked myself into shortstop. And then if anybody, I remember we had some sicknesses and stuff, and we'd shift the infield, and I played second every once in a while. So it was, I don't want to say I'm completely Sooner born and bred, but it ran through my whole blood.
It did.
And when Texas recruited me, they're probably number 2 because they had a Texas kid that they were recruiting. But my dad would have probably flipped over in his grave because of that. But yeah, Sooner born, Sooner bred, always in my blood. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's just how I was raised.
Okay, so you always wanted to go into law enforcement.
Yes.
So that was like always your thing. Okay.
Yeah, since I was like, used to want to do like the FBI, Silence of the Lambs, Jodie Foster style.
Oh, yeah?
But then this little pesky thing called DNA came out, and then it's really hard to be a true serial killer anymore because, they catch you.
Right.
And nowadays a camera is going to catch you, so you got DNA and a camera,
so
or somebody videoing something completely not to do with you catches it in the background.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The Gabby Petito case. That's what I think of that.
My goodness, yes.
So then I had some friends that were in FBI's and different municipalities, sheriff's office, and they were like, go do city stuff. It's fun. It's always changing. Your calls aren't consistently the same thing. A lot more of, FBI isn't really chasing criminals. It's more about the like cyber crimes and the white collar crimes and the different things now and how the world evolves. And so I applied at Oklahoma City, Norman, Tulsa, and I was accepted in Tulsa. Really didn't have any desire to go back home, but they were hiring, and I was needing to be like an adult at that time, and so I started with them in 2006, and then officially medically retired April 7th of 22 after my injury. So
okay. I was curious what happened with your injury because I didn't realize it had happened so recently. So my goodness, that's crazy.
No, I don't want to say I like to talk about it. I like to make people aware of traumatic brain injuries in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, cops get a bad rap, but cops also give themselves a bad rap. And so it's a give and take in that world too. So no, it was Christmas Eve, 2019.
Oh, wow.
I have to say most of the time cops on Christmas and Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving, we're usually we try to, be generous with not going to jail if we don't have to. We're trying to be, Santa's coming, we want to be good.
Spirit.
So I had switched over from doing basic 911 calls, everyday officer calls, to traffic, which focuses on writing you tickets, the sneaky cars that write you tickets.
Yes.
Or we do wrecks, collisions, and stuff like that. And 2 people had bumped into each other backing up at Target at 19th and Yale in Tulsa. And I was just out there, one younger, probably 18 to 21-year-old kids. And so we were giving the sheets, and I was telling them what to do, call their insurance and stuff like that. And a very large gentleman, could be a wide receiver for an NFL team, 6'5", 250, comes out of Target, and the Target loss prevention security guard's like, hey, he's been stealing from all day. So I said, hey, buddy, come here. And he did. He came right to me. Like, no big deal. And, obviously, I'm 5'5", and with all my gear on, I'm probably like 165.
Yeah.
And so he started walking at me, and he was kind of complying, and then he, I think, was like, she's a chick, she's short, I'm gonna run. She didn't, no, you can't be doing that because you don't know which one's an all-American sprinter. Not that I'm at the age of my cop career, I didn't want to run, but I did, and I caught him, and I did one of our tactical maneuvers that is supposed to work, and he stood up, and when he stood up, I was literally piggybacked on his back like a dad and a child.
Oh my goodness.
He tried to throw me off to the side, shuck me, and instead of shucking, I have never ridden a bull, but I can imagine that was kind of what it was like. I hunkered my feet right into him and made it known that I was going to hold on. And so it caused him and me to topple, and his whole body weight like pile drived me into the parking lot next to his car, which is what he was running at.
Oh my gosh.
And then we separated for a second, and he was up on his, getting up on all fours. and I just went to tackle him. And when I went to tackle him, he did an elbow to my face. Some gentleman, which I've never figured out this gentleman's name from Tulsa, that came over and did what they call the figure four method. It's a wrestling technique. Sir, if you're watching, thank you. That helped a lot. We were able to get him, the security guard and I were able to get his handcuffs on and with his legs figured four by a great citizen of Tulsa.
Wow.
And it was, stood him up. And as soon as I stood up, if anybody's ever been hit in the head pretty good, not even if it was severe or not, you get that woozy feeling. And then I thought I was going to throw up on him, which at that moment was only going to be fair.
Yeah,
and
sure.
it just slowly like went downhill from there for me. My guys took him and dealt with him. He supposedly was on PCP.
Oh, wow.
And then I didn't want to, this sounds so dumb, I didn't want to waste money on taking an EMSA box into the hospital, so I called Courtney to come get me, which was not, don't do that, kids. Just let the box take you and you call them. And, yeah, that was probably not my smart move. But, you know, they're initially, unless you're unconscious or you're bleeding, there's not a lot you can do. So they send you home, and they sent me home, and then everything kind of proceeded to get worse. I didn't, for like, I couldn't speak for like 3 months. I wanted to speak.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go through speech therapy, cognitive therapy, brain therapy is what I called it, all encompassing.
Yeah.
Vestibular balance therapy. I did a 1.5 years of basically PT for your head. And I could never get to do anything that didn't make me sick. And so making me sick is encompassing, I get dizzy, lightheaded, I throw up sometimes.
Oh, man.
Your sensory issues, like I'll get impacted, like sound and different noises, things that you wouldn't think would necessarily bug you. There's times I've sat in a room with literally like Bluetooth headphones and just like a soothing music. You know, it's got to be cold and dark. And we worked, and I mean, I have to thank the city of Tulsa. They probably did about a year's more work than a normal person would get. They did everything they could. I did everything I could, but obviously my reflexes are no longer anywhere near All-American status.
Aww.
So, and with the traumatic brain injury, I also have a C-spine injury. Hopefully I'll never have to actually be doing enough to need surgery on that, but eventually that'll probably come to, because my back's kind of screwed up too. So all these years that I thought wearing my vest in softball, and nope, just one thing did it. So
yeah, that's scary.
But it's we moved. Trust me, I've been in Oklahoma for 44 years. Part of me didn't want to move, and part of me wanted to explore outside of there. But it just got the summers. The heat really affects all the symptoms. And so we basically started looking for someplace north and east of Kansas City, and we somehow ended up in Madrid, New York. And Courtney works for the Rochester Regional St. Louis Health System, and I'm a stay-at-home dog mom and farmer, I guess. We're on 12 acres and
concrete pour.
Yeah, concrete assister, whatever my contractor needs. I say, yes, sir, I'll get that for you. I got an ATV with a snow plow in the front, so when the large snows come, I can clear off the driveway. So I am getting some fun toys with it, too.
It sounds like it.
But overall, I have had less bad days up here with the transition, so I'm missing all you beautiful people back in Oklahoma. I at least get the constant daily living life a little bit easier, so.
Well, this point in our lives, that's really all we can ask for.
Right,
I mean, you can't be miserable.
No.
You know, no one should be miserable at any age, but especially at our age, like, you just got to do what's best for your health. So, my goodness, well, you really went through a lot, but.
Yeah, it's I think, and I bet you my OU teammates would definitely say this. I didn't have much of a filter before. And because that's one of the questions, they're like, how's your filter? And of course, most of the people that know me are like, she didn't have one of those, so that can't be broke.
Yeah.
And
there wasn't one in the first place.
But Mama B taught me to be honest. That's what that is. So, no, it's I'll just have to say, if anybody in your families, in your kids' lives, whatever, concussions, traumatic brain injuries, stuff like that, just be understanding. It's not just sleep and rest that will help. It takes a lot more. And I mean, because I'd had a previous concussion on the department from getting arresting somebody and getting hit wrong with a punch. And
man.
That one didn't last as long, and they impact, like the whole NFL CTE thing and the impact. just if any of your family members get it, have a problem with it, your kids get it, especially if your younger kids get it, please, 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 please be cautious. I am 44 years old. It is not necessarily worth that. We, back in the day, used to be told to go in a quiet room and rest. And that's all we knew. That's all they knew better.
Right.
And that's what I did with my first concussion on the department. So the second one coming was a completely new ball game. So just educate yourself.
Wow.
Whatever sport you play, just educate yourself on all traumatic brain injuries and concussions leading on throughout life.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, well, like you said, that's an important thing to bring awareness to, because unfortunately those things happen and people aren't aware of the repercussions of it and the treatment of it and all that. So yeah, I appreciate you telling that. That's fairly a recent ordeal for you, so I can't even imagine.
It is fun. I'll tell you the benefit of it. Kind of like, I remember watching a comedian about Alzheimer's once. You have a new friend every day. I have seen movies once, multiple times.
Okay.
It took me 3 or 4 times to see the last Star Wars movies to be like, did that happen? And so there are certain times that I'll look at something, I'll be like, I feel like I may have watched this, and so I'll ask Courtney, have we seen this? She's like, yes, more than once. I'm like, but it's great because I catch something new to a movie all the time.
Absolutely, so, a silver lining for sure.
Right.
Well, Courtney sounds like she's a good complimentary person for you.
She is my voice on social media for sure.
She absolutely is. I love it.
And I love how obviously she's an Oklahoma kid, so it's really easy to be a Sooner fan. But she was raised right, and so it's I'm always entertained by what some of the things that people say back and forth. It's especially the ones I really try to like. Well, who are you? And they're newer fans, so they have no idea.
They don't know the name. Yeah.
They don't know the name, or they don't know even the 2013 team, because they're getting, they're getting to the point where no one knows them either. And I'm like, welcome to our world.
I know.
Yeah. So it's always a good chuckle when somebody says something like, well, how would you know? And
let me tell you.
Well, let me just tell you all the times that coach yelled at me in the huddle, or told me this or that. So
it's funny because you're saying you don't have a filter. Sometimes I think she doesn't have one either.
Oh no, she doesn't. She absolutely doesn't have one.
And I don't mean that negatively at all, because I love it. Because that's me. I mean, but now my husband does have a filter, and he tries to tell me, like, your face is not, you need to adjust the face, all the things. And it's just hard for some people to do that. But like you said, there are some things that I think that I might say to my husband, my best friend, somebody, but I'm not going to put it on social media. I'm not going to say it, out. And even saying something out loud and then typing it and hitting send, that's two different things. I just cannot wrap my brain around some of the stuff that people type and go, yeah, I'm gonna hit send on that. Okay, well, yeah. So anyway, I don't mean that in a negative way.
And Courtney understands it. She played softball in college, and so I don't think that a lot of times you get people that comment that don't even know, they know nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say all men don't know softball, but
most.
Fast pitch men softball is different than fast pitch women softball.
Absolutely.
If you played fast pitch men, I have all the respect and stuff for you, but also it's different. Yep. Women's sports are different.
Yes, they are.
How it's done, how it's handled, how daily life is different.
Absolutely.
And so it's always super entertaining when they think, well, just because you're married to blah, blah. And she's like, no, I played ball too.
Yeah.
I earned a scholarship and I played too. So that's why I'm saying this.
Good for her.
And she coached, and so it's like, and she loves it now that we've seen enough games together now. Very rarely does she ask me anymore, what is coach saying? What is coach thinking?
She's got to figure it out.
She started to pick up on some of the stuff, and she always chuckles when she'd be like, okay, what's coach saying? I'll be like, oh, this, that, and that. And then they'd interview her, and I'd do like a Cliff Notes version of what she said. And Courtney's like, I said, see, she says the same thing. She just says it a little differently each time.
Yeah.
And it's very easily, entertainment, free entertainment. Heck all the time.
That's awesome. I love
I'm going to have to get her to create a new bingo card for you, though.
Yes, please do, because I need another bingo for the postseason.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, I've kept you way long enough, but before we go, let's talk about just like what are you thinking going into regionals? I mean, I know our teams we have coming into Norman, and then a potential if everything works out, so to speak, for supers, we could have Bama coming to town for a little rematch. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, the team just needs to do what they've been doing. Anytime we've gotten down 6 runs,
yep,
we've come back.
Respond.
Chip away one at a time. Just like Coach said the other day. I knew what she's going to say.
Yeah.
It's real easy. If you get one each inning, it gets real easy to keep chipping. So even if we have a bad outing with all of our pitchers, we can still come back with our hitting. That's the theme of, I feel like, college softball this year.
Absolutely.
They do this, we come back with that.
Yes.
So I think they need to just focus on each game at a time. Because your biggest mistake right now, or the biggest mistake typically done in the postseason, is if we win this, we got Bama, we'll focus on Bama. That's when a California or a Boston University comes and bites you in the tush. It's, oh my. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's okay.
My cat's knocking down things here. So you got to just stay focused one game at a time. Obviously, the coach is going to be doing that.
Yes.
So if we do everything correctly, and Bama comes to us next week, I would say the good thing is, statistically speaking, we shouldn't have beat Arkansas 4 times.
No, we should.
So with Bama, I mean, it's gonna be the exact same thing as the series before, and I really think it's going to be who's on at what time, what day. Yeah. Whether it's the hitters, the pitchers, who's not making the errors. I mean, obviously Bama has proved they can play with anybody. Even though they've had probably lower overall rankings this year than previous. Yes. But, Coach Murphy knows what he's doing.
He sure does.
He may not have as many championships as Coach, but who does? But he knows what he's doing. He's going to get his team prepared. And, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of upsets. Hopefully not OU.
Yes.
But I always love it when an underdog comes up and bites somebody. That's always a good thing. I think this is going to be the most surprising postseason that we've seen in a while.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because we've all faltered at one time, and you just go, oh my gosh, what are they doing? They keep playing like this. They're not going to go anywhere. And then 3 games later, all of a sudden they're on a 20-game win streak or whatever. And it literally, Texas, Tennessee, us, Florida State. Florida State struggled earlier in the season, and then, with Coach Lonnie, and I know part of it is our thoughts and prayers go out to her for her cancer diagnosis.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that's a rallying thing. That's something that you fight for, for your coach. And so all these things that are your building blocks, but I definitely think there's going to have to be one major upset in the top 8. Someone's going to lose a super regional. Yeah. Maybe 2 this year. I think I'm calling for 2 big upsets. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say who because I'm not even sure. Yeah. But somebody's going to surprise somebody. And then I think you're going to have at least 3 away teams coming into somebody's house and ending up at the World Series. Oh, wow. So, yeah, it's the softball, like I said, bipolar softball this year. You don't know who's going to do what, who's going to show up, who's going to win. And it's gonna be just like our last game with Arkansas. It's gonna be nitty gritty. Yes. Down to the last second. Yes. And it's got a lot. I'm anticipating a lot of walk-offs, whether home runs or singles or walk-ins. Yes. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of those this year.
There have been.
I think it's going to be. I'm probably going to have to tell my contractor we're going to have the computer outside, or the portable TV that we have on wheels. And I'm going to just be yelling at, yes, the whole time. If you need me, make a sign and tell me what I need to do, because I'm going to be watching.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah. So I should have told him to take his vacation this week. Yeah. Well, I think he's doing it during the World Series though, so that'll be good.
Oh, okay. That will be good too.
That'll be good. Yeah. So Courtney and I have a really good friend set. Stephanie Hodges, she played at OSU, same age as I did, 2003. And her wife and I are all in a group, and we call them Bedlam Buddies because
I love it.
Because we've been like Julie Dobbs and her husband. It's I'll cheer for OSU at any second they're not playing OU. I want him to win. I love Kenny G. He's a great dude.
He's a good coach.
I want him to do all, same thing with Chrissy Strimple at TU that I used to play against. I mean, I want the state of Oklahoma to represent, And so usually what we do is, they're playing or they're watching a set of games. All of us have our computers or our TVs on different sets of games, and then we're all updating each other with deals if we need to change over. And then, we actually bought the Sling package with all the sports.
Oh, yes.
so we can watch any game that we want to.
That's awesome.
And of course we have the ESPN stuff. So, but certain packages only allow one person to watch instead of multiple. So then there's times that, like, well, if I'm working on the house, I'll listen to Chris Plank.
Yes.
Because I can't always, be just glued to it.
Right. That's understandable.
But it's funny because we take rotations and keep each other updated with what's going on. Or
I love that.
So, yeah.
I love that.
That's what awesome. I'll be doing if I do have to work.
Yes. I do watch OSU. I would probably watch them anyway, regardless of if I was married to him or not. But I do keep up with it a little more because of him. I will say I have a hard time being that person that's like, oh, I want OSU to do good, or like the state or the Big 12, that used to be. And a lot of people would ask me, oh, do you want OSU to do good now that they're not in the same conference? And I'm like, I want my husband to be happy, but obviously not if it's Bedlam. But we always joke, and he says, even with Bedlam, it's almost easier if OU wins, just so he doesn't have to listen to me. I'm just, so he's a little nicer. He's a little quieter about things than I am. So it just makes sense.
I mean, what I always laugh with Julian Dennis, Dobbs Burbank, is that he will put on an OU shirt, and like my only rule that I think I've had most of my life is if they beat me, I'm not wearing to support them.
No.
So like when Coach Walton, T. Wally, went to Florida, OU lost out one of the World Series 2011, I think it was. And so he got me a Florida shirt. Well, Florida never beat us, so I'm allowed to wear that shirt and represent him.
That makes sense.
But when I don't think I could put on other attire to support even, no.
Yeah, no, that
unless it was like, if I will say I've done it for a funeral. I've worn an opposite jersey. Yeah. I'm from Broken Arrow. We had a Union. We're always big rivals. Mm-hmm. One of my friends died. I wore a Union jersey. The Union basketball coach, Edie Allen, was like, that's cool. And I go, you never thought you'd see me in this, right? So I will do it for funerals, but on a day-to-day cheering level, not happening.
Okay, I gotcha.
Well, if we never played you, I could do it.
Yes.
I can represent, but other than that, not happening.
That makes sense. I never owned a piece of orange clothing in my entire life until my husband and I started dating, and I had made half and half Bedlam shirts for us.
Oh, okay.
And that was in 2005, and we still have those shirts, but we only wore them for Bedlam football. So once the separation happened, I asked him if he wanted to do it for other sports, because he doesn't have a very good record in that shirt. My record's 19-4 in that shirt, and so he was like, "No, we're only keeping the shirt for football, so we'll keep it for future reference." But anyway, I have never.
I guess if I was married to that, I would have to probably give in to that a little.
I don't know. I don't know how much I've given in.
No, I don't. There's just certain, like Texas. Ooh.
Oh God, no.
No, there's rules.
There are rules. That is one thing. My husband has football tickets in Stillwater, and I have OU, of course. And so we'll go with each other as schedules allow. But I always liked going to Stillwater, and still for any other sport, when they were playing Texas. Because I can do this all day.
Oh, absolutely.
Down all day long. I don't care. That's one thing we can agree on. That's our thing. But he's a little more lenient as far as listening to his game or whatever in my stadium or whatever. I'm not doing that. I love him. I will go with him if it doesn't interfere with my team or whatever, but I can't wear orange. It's really hard for me to want OSU to win. Now, I'm not saying, I like OSU softball. I like Coach Kenny. We've actually met him. He's a nice guy.
Oh, Kenny's great.
Yeah, and so I like to watch OSU sports just because it is our state, and it's my husband's school. It's his alma mater. So, okay, I can do that, but I'm not going to say I'm not necessarily cheering for or against them, but I might laugh if they get beat. I'm just saying.
Well, I think it's easier because I've known Kenny since he played ball at OU, and so I think that helps.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Whenever he retires or whatever, although he has a new baby, so he's probably not retired anytime soon. I think maybe I won't watch it as much, but then I've grown up watching it.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I mean, if we're not playing and they're on, I will watch them for sure. So, it's hard for me to quote root for them, but I will just always say, well, I want my husband to be happy. But, you know.
I can say as long as I'm playing OU, I definitely I would like to see him win.
Yeah.
Maybe more so cheering for them with certain teams. I really want them to win.
Oh, for sure.
But
Absolutely.
I mean, like when they were up in the World Series and it could have been an all Oklahoma final.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
That like is awesome to me because
absolutely.
Then you're like coast to coast worldwide. Even now, you're inspiring girls to play softball, and they want to come to Oklahoma. And I mean, I know there's certain people that don't even know where Oklahoma is on the map. And so I think that, you know, I think that's the cool part of it.
Absolutely. So. I agree with that. I hope they do well in their regional. I think it will be tough for them in Fayetteville, but good luck to them because I mean, I think they could pull it out. I mean, there's definitely a chance. You know,
yeah,
I could see that maybe being one of the upsets that you mentioned. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
They might totally crap the bed when they get out there. I don't know, but I could see that being one of those upsets, but, like you said.
You know, they're definitely, you know, those, you know, they're having a sneaky team that can sneak in and bite you year.
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
They started out really good and they kind of faltered.
Yeah.
And so you know that it's there. It's just whether or not they can put it together and get all aspects working to do it.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, Bedlam softball was on my birthday this year, and so it was a good night for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was a good game. And again, I just want to see competition. I just want a good game and both teams to play, you know, play their hearts out, play the best they can, and that's what I want to see. So anyway, I'd love to have them back in Oklahoma City and us be obviously back in Oklahoma City. So
yes,
can't wait. Yeah. I can't wait to see. I'll be texting you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be talking trash somehow back and forth.
Oh, we totally will. We totally will. Well, thank you for your long chat today.
Oh, yes.
And all the catch up and looking forward to postseason. So I'm excited. Yep. So thanks for taking the time for me.
No problem. Boomer Sooner at all.
Boomer Sooner.